Next video. In today's video we will be learning about server actions with Next.js. Now I have already made a video about this, but in this video the important thing is we won't be using JavaScript. Like in my last video I was using use state, and typically you should not use use state with server actions. So I won't call it a mistake. You can still use it, but it's not a good way of doing things, so I want to rectify that. Secondly, I also want to show you how to show a loading indicator, like once your server action has initiated. And the third thing is how to give a callback from your server action to your client component. So firstly what I'll do is I can just go to this /add page. So this is my client component, and here what I can do is I will just so here suppose these are these are my three inputs inside a form, and this is the button, submit button, and this, ignore this dot, like this is just a loading indicator. And so suppose I don't enter anything, so I have added validation for this input. Okay, if I click on create, here you can see that you might have seen the loading text, it disappeared pretty quickly, but here you can see the validation that the title must be longer. Now suppose I send something to this so some input, some title, some body, and some user ID. So that's what this API takes, and I'm using the free type placeholder API which you can found on the internet. And if I now click on create, here you can see this is showing my loading, and we are then redirected to my index page. So we'll see how to do this without any JavaScript. So first here you can see that inside app directory I have created this add folder, and inside that I have created page.tsx, and this is a client component. And here inside src I have created an actions folder. Inside that I have created index.ts, and this will be our server actions. Given that this is a client component, you can't directly define a function and mark it as use server. You will have to create a separate file. And also we are using use form state from React DOM. That's why we have to mark this as use client, and it takes a form state as well as an action. And here you can see this is our action, like server action. I have created this method inside this index.ts file of server actions, and the message is empty for now. And I'll show you why we are calling this as message, because we have defined the same inside our server actions as well. And here I'm just passing this action over here, and I have defined these three inputs. And if there is any callback from server action, I'm just displaying inside this h1 tag. And here I am also using this my loading component. Now this my loading component will have to make it a different component. You can't just suppose like even though it is an h1 tag, you can't just use an h1 tag directly inside over here, because if you go to this my loading component, it uses use form status, and use form status you can't directly use over here, because the form component or the form tag is defined inside the same component. It has to be a child of this form tag. Sorry about the background noise. And here you can see that I'm using this use form status. If you use this use form status directly inside page.tsx, it won't work. Like this is kind of like a gotcha from Next.js, and here I'm just showing a loading state. Okay, and the dot was because of this. I'll just remove this dot because it was confusing. Next, here you can see, and I have just created a button of type submit, and created a create component, and also this loading component is also use client. Now this loading page is not, don't get confused with Next.js loading. I think Next.js also provides a loading page by default. This is my own loading page, and that's why I wanted to use form status. That's why I've created this. So that's it. Now if you go to the server actions, over here you can see I have created this create data, and it takes a form state, and here you can see we have defined this message. So that's why inside the page.tsx we have defined this message over here. This should be same. And here you can see like this is normal API call, and here I am doing validation. Okay, if title is not equal to string, here you can apply whatever validation you want to, and I'm just returning a title must be longer. And here I'm just making an API call, and I have wrapped it inside try catch. So suppose if there is some error in the API call, you can catch that error using something like this. You can just return message as well. one important thing is you can't do redirect inside try catch. If you try to do this redirect inside try catch over here, then you will face an issue like there is some error called next redirect error, something like that. That's why you have to move this outside try catch. So that's a very important gotcha. And also I have created one more page.tsx. So here you can see I have created another server action called delete task, and it takes an id, and just it takes a normal API call, and again it redirects to the index page. But if you see over here, given that it is in id, we don't have an input for this form actions. This id will be taken from the like the whatever page you are on. So something like localhost colon 3000/123. So 123 would be your id. And here I have shown you that you can use something called as bind, which like this is I think a JavaScript, I'm not sure whether it is like HTML or a JavaScript thing, but you can directly use it, and here you can bind to your action. So this is our server action which we have defined. Okay, then you just have to call bind. The first parameter will be always be null. Okay, so if you see our server action over here, it takes only one input, which is the id. But if you see over here, where did it go? Yeah, we are first passing null and then we are passing the id. Suppose if your server action took two parameters, then also the first parameter would be null, then the then the second parameter, and then the third parameter. So here there will be three parameters. If your server action takes two parameters, the first parameter will always be null, and you can just directly call delete action over here. So yeah, so if you are curious, so 123 is my page id, and if I click on delete, it should redirect me to the index page. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.